Hey everyone, welcome to this quick guide on Apache Kafka. In this video, we'll break down Kafka's main concepts in simple terms. So without further ado, let's dive in. So why do you need Kafka? Imagine having two apps, for instance, auto service and notification service. They have to interact with each other. Let's say every time the auto status changes, we have to send an email. The simplest way to do it is making HTTP requests. So we go for it and it works pretty good. But we have to consider that notification service might be unavailable sometimes. What are the possible options for error handling in this case? First option is retrying the request immediately. It might help, but what if notification service is down for an hour? Then we're gonna need too many retries before a successful response. Another option is to save the request and retry it later. In this case, we have to manage storing and processing of the request and maintain the code for it. And the last option is just to accept failure and return the error to the client. You can see that error handling requires some analysis, and it becomes even more complicated when we need to call multiple services. Then, in case of failures, we have to coordinate retries and think of data consistency. Moreover, the auto service is highly coupled with other services. It always has to remember the whole list of consumers interested in its events. It is okay for 2 or 3 services, but what about 100? Managing such scenarios will become a real nightmare, and here Kafka may help you out. It works as a mediator. Some services send their events to Kafka, other services read events from Kafka. Notice that events are rooted inside Kafka, so we don't need to remember all services which read our events. Kafka architecture allows us to decouple senders and readers. Moreover, it provides high level of scalability and fault tolerance out of the box. Now let's have a closer look. Kafka uses combination of push and pull models. Services which push data into Kafka are called producers. Services which read data are called consumers, and they pull messages at their own pace. Both producers and consumers can have multiple instances. In order to route messages from producers to consumers correctly, Kafka uses topics. A topic is like a channel where messages are stored and organized. There could be many topics in Kafka. Producer sends a message into a specific topic, for instance, topic A or topic B. Consumer reads messages from the topics it is interested in. It works like a subscription, so we say consumer listens to the topic. The heart of Kafka storage system is a log. Log is an ordered, append-only structure stored on a disk. So basically, it's a file used for storing messages in a topic. Every time producer sends a message to the topic, it is added to the end of the log. Each message gets a sequential number called an offset. It starts from 0 and is unique within the log. Consumers use offsets to track which messages they have read. They typically start processing messages from the beginning of the log. For example, consumer pulls Kafka message with offset equals 0. After processing it, it moves to the message with offset equals 1 and so on. What happens with the message after reading? Is it deleted? No. This is one of Kafka features. Messages are deleted according to the retention policy. It is a configuration of the topic which controls how long messages are kept. This allows us to read the same messages by other consumers. Moving back to topics. A topic in Kafka is made up of one or more logs. Each log is tied to a partition. Multiple partitions allow multiple consumers to read messages in parallel. So you can think of partition as of separate lanes on a highway. When a message is pushed to the topic, it is stored in one of the partitions. But which one? Kafka distributes messages across partitions randomly or by key when it is provided. Each message is a key-value pair. Key is just an optional string and value is the message body. The rule is following: the same key goes to the same partition. For example, for the given case, the message with key equals C will end up in the second partition. This is an important point. Key is used for ordering the consumption of the messages, because you remember they are read one by one. So far, we've learned that topics might be read by many consumers. And this is very convenient as many services could be interested in the events. What happens when we have multiple instances of the same service? We want to ensure that one message is not read twice in this case. For that, we can combine services in one consumer group. In Kafka, each message in a topic is processed once per group. Moreover, group is a way to share a workload of processing messages. Let's look at it in more details. Here's an example of a topic with 3 partitions. Let's see how consumers in group process messages simultaneously. When we have one instance listening to the topic, then all 3 partitions are assigned to it, so it reads all the messages. When service is scaled to 2 instances, Kafka notices new consumer joining the group and rebalances partitions among the consumers. In our case, partitions could be redistributed like that. When next consumer joins the group, Kafka rebalances load once again. An interesting thing happens when the 4th consumer joins the group. No partition will be assigned to it because in Kafka, one partition is read by only one consumer from the group. It makes managing message processing pretty simple and straightforward. So you see that in our case, consumer number 4 does nothing and does not make data processing any faster. Of course, rebalancing can change load distribution, but maximum of 3 consumers may be active at one time, others would be idle. Now let's have a look at how Kafka manages all the elements and achieves high levels of performance. Here is an architecture of Kafka cluster. Cluster consists of brokers and controllers. They are all just servers. Brokers are in charge of storing messages, so all topics, partitions, logs are stored on broker servers. Producers and consumers communicate with brokers as well. Controllers manage cluster metadata, so they know which topics exist, where they are stored, and so on. Controllers work as a quorum with leader, and brokers communicate with the leader to find out cluster info. In the earlier versions of Kafka, handling metadata was a responsibility of Zookeeper, so just keep in mind that Zookeeper and controllers have the same functions. Going back to brokers and topic storage. When topic has multiple partitions, they are distributed among the brokers. There is a special mechanism in Kafka called replication, which ensures data is not lost if broker fails. It works by making copies of messages across multiple brokers, so every partition would have some replicas on other brokers. When producer sends messages or consumers read messages, they work with specific leader partitions. Replicas just exist. When broker fails, Kafka has to choose new leaders, so in our case, there is one leader on failed broker, and Kafka chooses new leader among replicas on other brokers. All clients then work with new leader. It all helps Kafka with scalability, fault tolerance, durability, and performance, and that's why lots of tech companies use Kafka for their products. That's it for today. Please leave your questions in the comments and give this video a like if it was useful. Bye!